Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great big beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's a Monday. It's the 29th of September, 2025, and here we go again. Isn't it amazing? Well, first of all, I'm getting ahead of myself. Welcome, dear listener, to the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and we broadcast live from 2 p.m. Eastern Time until 3, and that's, of course, on the Pacific Coast. That's from 11 a.m. until 12 noon. You can figure out the time zones in between, which means if you're listening live, yes, we have a phone number you can call in, but I ask you to hold off for the time being because I got a bunch of stuff I got to get to. The phone number here is 215-867-8255. And as always, this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. If you haven't checked it out, you got to check it out, folks. Folks that have gotten one, and they're pretty happy with it. There's a little bit of a learning curve, yeah. But once you figure it out, a lot of people that are enjoying a lot of benefit from it. And don't listen to me. You just do your own research. Go to YouTube and do a search for Wave Watch. And that's WAVWATCH, Wave Watch. And there are plenty of testimonials and information thing about there. And once you've done some research and you know what it's all about, then you'll understand why this Tesla technology, this Rife machine, is rather significant. So anyway, check it out. And once you do, get one. Get one from our website. You'll get $100 off if you use the promo code REDPILL100. Okay, that started. You know, it's funny because, usually people have a busy work week, and you get to Friday, it's the end of the week, and you want to just shut everything down. And the powers that be know that. So they put all their crap out there during the weekend. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to focus in on what's been going on with this Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, there's a lot of division now that's showing itself within the Patriot movement based upon a lot of the subterfuge and propaganda that's being thrown out from the right. Now, you would think that it's the left that throws out the propaganda and the horse hockey and the gaslighting, but the same thing is going on the right now. And a lot of folks are pointing their accusatory fingers at folks like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and they're just going after all these people who are simply asking questions. Now, I have to tell you, folks, my main concern, and it has been ever since Charlie was assassinated, that we have to focus on the official narrative, the FBI story. And if we can get through that, that opens up the questions that everybody is asking, okay? Now, as every day passes, we're finding more and more major problems with the FBI narrative. It doesn't make sense. So let's use common sense and use, critical thinking skills, all right? So either this is a lone gunman, okay, this Tyler Robinson, either this is a lone gunman, and if it's not, then that means it is a state-sponsored assassination. Simple as that. Simple. If it's not Tyler Robinson, then that means that there was something else going on, and it isn't going to be a very simple plot. No, this would have to be planned well in advance. It would involve all kinds of shall we say, evidence tampering and planting and, all kinds of stuff. There would have to be, how they say, the cover-up is worse than the crime, okay? So if this is not what they say it is, if it's not Tyler Robinson, then this was a very complicated, well-orchestrated, well-planned assassination. It's very simple. So, as we look at all of the information that the FBI has been throwing out there, and we see every time they say something, it just doesn't make sense. So now that leads me and many others to question the official narrative in any way that we can. And it's not illegal or bad to question anything. I mean, you don't get an answer unless you ask a question. So that's where we are. I know it sounds stupid simple, but then again, I'm a stupid simple guy, all right? But I'm just asking questions. Now, let's look at the history here. Let's look at what Charlie Kirk started. And what was it, 12 years ago, he started TPUSA, and there is no doubt whatsoever that he was very supportive of Israel and everything that Israel was doing. He was getting a lot of money from Israel. He had a lot of Israeli supporters on his team. However, dear campers, we're only about 10 days away from the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th attack into Israel. Now, you regular listeners know that I've been challenging that official narrative since day one. It didn't make sense. And there are plenty of documentaries and there's information out there that indicates that, yes, this was the execution of the Hannibal Directive, which means you attack yourself and blame it on somebody else. Now, Charlie started to take a look at some of this stuff. All right? I mean, and he was asking some very serious questions. Now, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. TPUSA was very much behind Israel. Israel had security teams working with Charlie. He was taking a lot of money from Israel. They were supporting him because he was supporting them. However, Charlie was a critical thinker. He thought outside of the cage, and he started asking questions. Now, I played some of these clips before, and they're worth listening to again, because this, I think, was, as they say, turning point. Maybe this was a turning point for Charlie when he started to recognize or, quote, notice what's going on. And I use that word notice very specifically because the noticing continues all over the world. Here's what Charlie was saying. You know, like I said, he started to pay attention and ask some very serious questions.
Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate. I got to be careful the way I say this. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. I mean, that's, and I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? This is the closest thing to the Holocaust that any of us have lived through. There are some serious questions here, Patrick, and let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right. Yeah.
How did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. And most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand-down order?
Ooh, there it is.
Was there a stand-down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is.
Yeah.
Okay, now he asked the question, was there a stand-down order? Now that's what that documentary is all about that I've been telling you about for months and months and months. The attack on Israel was 100% an inside job. And I last week, I played the audio and translated it for you of IDF soldiers saying that, yes, they were given a stand-down order. At 5:30 in the morning, they were told to abandon their posts. So, yes, there was a stand-down order, and you have to ask the question, why? Okay? All the evidence is there. All you have to do is look at it. That's all you have to do. This is not hard. So the point is that in the past, as you heard, Charlie said for the past, several years, he has been noticing what's been going on. And he began to question the motives of the Israeli regime and Bibi Netanyahu. So, let's put those puzzle pieces together. He started off TPUSA with a lot of Israeli support, a lot of, Israelis embedded in his organization. He was getting a lot of funding from Israeli supporters, etc., etc. And now all of a sudden, over the past few years, he started to pay attention and notice, putting the puzzle pieces together. Was it, you heard him say, was this ethnic cleansing? And like everybody's saying, okay, the Palestinians, Hamas is a terrorist organization. Wait a second. What's the difference between a terrorist organization and a resistance organization? Stop and think about it. Since 1948, we're talking 77 flaming years that Israelis have been displacing the Palestinians, herding them into smaller and smaller areas. They've been subject to rape, to murder, torture. They grab their children. There are still, it's hard to know exactly how many, but anywhere between 4,500 and 6,000 Palestinians are quote-unquote prisoners. Well, how about we substitute the word prisoner with hostages? Now, Israel concerned about their 50 hostages. Well, why shouldn't the Palestinians be concerned about the hostages being held in Israel? And we know that Israel is directly involved. And yes, there are videos, unfortunately, of IDF soldiers raping women. As a matter of fact, there was a near riot because the Israelis were upset because the IDF soldiers were told to stop raping. They said, wait a second, you can't do that. Yeah, this is the society that we're dealing with here. And then there's the organ harvesting issue. There's that going on. And so what everybody's saying, well, then the Palestinians, all they want to do is kill us. They just want to kill us. Why do they hate us so much? What are you, stupid? 77 years of this crap going on and you don't expect them to want to resist? That's insane. But then again, hey, look at it. I'm just a conspiracy theorist, people are going to say, oh, Dave, you're an anti-Semite, you hate Jews. No, even the real Jews hate Israel right now. Because Israel and the regime does not represent the Old Testament Jews. Now, Talmudic Jews, yeah, I would say so, but they're completely different. They're not even from the Middle East. They're descendants from Eastern Europe and Central Asia. From the Ukraine area? Yeah, So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, we have to start thinking outside of the cage. So the point is that if Charlie was starting to wake up and starting to, quote, notice what was going on, yeah, that doesn't bode well for the Israeli regime, does it? So we get back to the question, if the official story of a quote-unquote lone gunman is horse hockey, then it has to be state-sponsored assassination. So, which state would benefit from that? That's not hard to figure out, folks. Which state would have the motive? Okay, well, if Charlie was well known all over the world. The memorial services were going on in Korea, in England, all over the world. Charlie was loved by millions and millions and millions of people. What power that he had. Boy, that scares the crap out of the powers that be, doesn't it? When somebody has that loud of a voice, it's somewhat of a threat to them, wouldn't you think? So anyway, Charlie was starting to question the official story about what happened on October 7th. He was also starting to question a lot of other stuff that Israel has been involved with. And we can't have that, can we? So now we are faced with the probability, I should say, that this indeed was a state-sponsored assassination. So now we get into saying, okay, well, what happened? Well, we can't really say. But I mean, all of the video cameras, the TPUSA, where's that footage? Where's the footage from all of the security cameras around the university? Where's that footage? Why is it the FBI is only showing you that short clip of the individual running across the roof? All they have to do is back up the video about 3 to 5 seconds, and you'll find that person in the location that they say the shot came from. But they don't show you that. Why is there such a cover-up? And again, I'll say it again, the cover-up sometimes is worse than the crime. And the more cover-ups that you see, the more likely that this is not just a lone gunman scenario. And then so people are now starting to attack anybody who's asking questions about that. Candace Owens, if you're out there, if somebody wants to tag Candace Owens with this broadcast, I'd appreciate it. Candace, I'm on your side. I back you up 100%. And everybody else that is that's questioning, making the same questions that I am. And yes, we have the right to speculate, to, shall we say, think outside the cage. What really happened? We don't know. But we have every right to ask that question. And I'll tell you, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, boy, all of a sudden the attacks are coming in left and right on both of them. Why do you suppose that is? Why are they giving them such a hard time? Eric Bolin was on the Turning Point show. He's saying, Candace wasn't even friends with Charlie. They broke their friendship off a couple years ago. She hasn't even been at any one of his rallies. Those are lies. Why are they telling lies about that? Why would they try to plant the seed that Charlie had separated from Candace Owens, and he was trying to, basically dissing her? None of that was true. As a matter of fact, only a month before Charlie was assassinated, somebody asked him that question. Here it is. This is only a month before he died.
How's your relationship with Candace Owens nowadays?
She's a great friend. Look, I don't agree with everything Candace says, but you know what I don't do? I don't stop being friends with people just because people morally blackmail me. I don't do that, and you shouldn't either. Look, I have different views on things as Candace. I have different views on Israel than Candace. I have different views on a lot of geopolitics. But honestly, I traveled the country with Candace. I went to her wedding. I saw her meet her husband. I went to Israel with Candace, which is a fun story I'll tell you at some point. But what I don't like is when people demand, you must stop being friends with somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a left-wing tactic. Don't do that. I'm not saying you do that, but other people do that. We should never resort to that. In fact, if you believe what I believe, shouldn't you want me to be friends with people that don't agree with us? Shouldn't you want me to also be a tool of influence? And so I think the world of Candace. She's a great mother. She certainly has very, very fun opinions at times. And she's a great talent. She says a lot of stuff that sometimes I don't agree with, but that's what makes our relationship and our friendship interesting. My advice to all of you, you might not like somebody, but never tell somebody like me to stop being friends with somebody on an interpersonal level just because of disagreement. It's bad. It's what the left does, and we should rise above it as conservatives. Thank you so much.
There you go. And, like I said, people are saying, I think it was Eric Bolling that said that Candace hasn't even had anything to do with Charlie for the past 2 years. That's a bald-faced lie. She was at the Turning Point USA rallies, what was it? I forget what month it was, but it was in the past year. So why are they trying to gin up this hostility with Candace Owens? Maybe she's touching on some very sensitive nerves. Same thing with Ryan Mata. Ryan Mata is a deep researcher, and same thing with Ian Carroll. He's a deep researcher. Going to attack them too? Point is, though, folks, is that we know that the official story is just so full of holes, it just doesn't make sense. And they're doing everything that they can to prevent any information from coming out. Where's the coroner report? Where's the physician's report? How come there was no, you got between 2,000 and 3,000 people on site. When have you ever seen a rally or a gathering with that many people and not have police there and not have security there? Or have an ambulance there in case somebody has a heart attack or a stroke or has some sort of an accident. You've got to have some first responders there, but that didn't happen. So, the more you look at this, the more you say, wait a second, This had to be a very coordinated effort here. Too many problems with the way this thing was set up. And the sad thing is that so many people are sitting on their hands, and the powers that be are just waiting for you to have the attention span of a potato like most Americans do. Here we are, we're coming up, let me see, in a couple of days, it'll be 3 weeks since Charlie was assassinated, and they're hoping this entire issue will just go away. Yep, just like Butler, Pennsylvania. Nobody's asking questions about that anymore. Yeah, just let it go. Nothing to see here. Move on. Well, a lot of us are not going to stop asking questions. As a matter of fact, let me see, there was something else here. Oh, yeah, Charlie was, the other thing that Charlie was talking about, he was talking about the Muslim invasion that we're having here in this country. And yes, it's been going on all over the world, and we see what's going on in England now. Oh, by the way, the UK now has just stated that, yes, everybody will be getting a digital ID card. Everybody's going to be going digital. Oh, boy. I'll get to that in just a second. But Charlie was interviewing a gentleman, former, I forget where he was. I think he was from Iran. But he fled one of the Muslim countries and came here like 40 years ago. And this is Charlie's interview with God Saad, and that's G-A-D, not G-O-D. His name was God Saad. Anyway, here it is.
Why is it that so many Muslims are moving to Western countries? Is it just economics, or is there something more ideological at play here?
It's both. Of course, many Muslims have no interest in conquering anyone, and they want, as you just said, exactly what you said, which is, I want better economic opportunities for me and my children and so on. But the Muslim Brotherhood and many other Islamic theorists and scholars and politicians have said that we will conquer the West through three means. And I hope that your listeners and viewers take note. Number one, we will conquer the West through the womb of our women, right? So that's a demographic fertility battle. We will produce 5 children, you will produce 1.2 children, and we will outbreed you. Number two, we will conquer the West through hijrah. Hijrah is the Arabic word for immigration, and that's exactly what we do with our open border policies. And number three, we will conquer the West by using your miserable freedoms and liberties against you. They're screaming this out from the top of the mountain, and yet most Westerners choose to ignore it, Charlie. It is so galling. It is so frustrating. I escaped that world 45 plus years ago, and here it is now hunting me down 50 years later.
Interesting. So it looks more and more, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, that the powers that be are trying to gin up a holy war. Christians, Jews, Muslims. Okay? That's what it's looking like. And I can't help but think of that Latin phrase, ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. Create the chaos. And we're well on the way here, folks. And the reason they're getting away with it, because the overwhelming majority of Americans just refuse to pay attention to anything. And anybody who's talking about stuff like this, you're looked at like you're, speaking a different language. And we might as well be, because they don't understand any of it. They have no basis, no foundation to be able to build upon when they're trying to get their own opinions, because their own opinions are formed by what the intellectual fecal matter that they consume from the television. So anyway, I wanted to get that out there because, and there's another thing here. I went back, there was an interview with the Shah of Iran. Now, we're talking back in the 70s, and I'm trying to remember the name of I think this was on 60 Minutes. But, who was the name of the reporter? I'm having a senior moment. You'll recognize his voice. But anyway, this is the Shah of Iran when he was being questioned about Israel. Now, this is not new. This has been going on for a long time. Listen up here.
Surely, Your Majesty, you're not telling me that the Jewish lobby in the United States pulls the strings of the presidency.
Not entirely, but I think even a little too much, even for Israel interests.
You think the Jewish lobby in the United States is too powerful for the interests of Israel?
I think so. Sometimes they are disserving the interests of Israel because they put...
Okay, he's talking about the Jewish lobby. How many years ago was this? Mid-'70s? You know, we're talking almost a half a century ago. Yeah, and so here it is. Here we are 50 years later, and we're talking about the Jewish lobby.
Pushing around too many people.
How do you mean pushing around?
Well, pressuring. They have many means at their disposal. They are putting up pressure on many, many people. And at the end, I don't think that it will even help Israel.
Why, if this is true, why would the President of the United States pay attention to that lobby?
They are strong.
Strong in what sense?
They are controlling many things.
Controlling what?
Newspapers, medias,
Your Majesty.
banks, finances.
Okay, I'm going to pause it again. He goes, Your Majesty, as if this is crazy talk. No, they would never do that.
And I'm going to stop there.
Well, now wait just a second. You really do believe that the Jewish community in the United States is that powerful? They make the media reflect their view of foreign policy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They do not report? We do not report honestly?
Don't mix things, please. I don't say the media. I say in the media they have people. Not the entire media. Some newspapers will only reflect their views, yes.
Mm-hmm. So this has been going on for a long, long time. A long time. All right, so I'm encouraging everybody to keep a question mark over your head. Remember, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who have an exclamation point over their heads because they know. They absolutely know. Exclamation point. You can't tell them anything. The doors to their mind are closed because they know. And so are they going to progress intellectually? I think not. Now, there are those who have a question mark over their heads because they want to know. And again, I said it just a little while ago, you don't get answers unless you're willing to ask questions. And there are some people out there that don't want you to ask questions. I already went through that with the 9/11 stuff. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back here.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by going to our website, the WTF Reports. If you go there and click on the sponsors page, it'll take you down where you can click on the window for Get More Tank, and you can read up all the specifications and details and how and why this stuff works. It's not a fuel additive. It's a fuel catalyst. Big difference. When you start using Get More Tank, it's going to clean your engine. It's going to give you more power. And once you've run a tank through, you're going to start to see improved mileage, anywhere between 15 and 20%. Do the math, folks. Depending upon your driving habits and your make, model, and year of the vehicle, you're going to see an improvement of your mileage. And if you're getting 20% better mileage, that means you're going to save money with one purchase. Do the math. You spend $20, and then you're going to save a tank of gas. It's a win-win-win situation, folks. It doesn't make any sense not to use Get More Tank. So please, check it out and use the promo code REDPILL100. You'll save 10% off, and you can get more tank. It's simple as that. Okay, oh, and by the way, just before the break, I was playing that clip from 60 Minutes in the report. That was Mike Wallace. Yeah, remember him? Interviewing the Shah of Iran. And, of course, he was talking about the undue influence that Israel has over our government, and that was nearly 50 flaming years ago. You think it's changed? I don't think so. Anyway, let me see. I got a couple other things I wanted to get to. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Israeli influence, there's a student at Northwestern University in Massachusetts, and he wanted to alert people of what's going on at the university. Check this out.
So 300 students are being barred from registering for courses at Northwestern University because they refused to take an anti-Semitism course that was just like pro-Israeli propaganda. But it's so crazy that you're not going to hear anything about this from the Make America Great Again party, the Trump supporters. Like if you don't pledge allegiance to Israel, you're not going to college. Could you imagine if this was if you didn't take a trans rights course or a trans sensitivity course or something, you would hear nonstop on Fox News, right? We'd hear about this for months.
Yeah. So they're forcing students to take courses on anti-Semitism. And of course, that phrase, anti-Semite, that's right up there with conspiracy theory. Okay. Anti-Semitism. It's not anti-Semitism, it's anti-Zionism. Zionism and Judaism are two different things. We're not talking apples and oranges here. We're talking apples and socket wrenches. Two totally different things. But the powers that be don't want you to know the difference. If you criticize Israel and their actions, that means you're an anti-Semite. No, you're not. You're an anti-Zionist. But they're counting on the ignorance of the American people. And the ignorance, I'm sorry, it is a pandemic of ignorance in this country because people refuse to pay attention. And it's so frustrating. And as a matter of fact, the word frustrating doesn't even do it for me anymore. Anyway, the media has been manipulating, all these different segments of our society. As a matter of fact, the black culture, has been so screwed up. As a matter of fact, Eric Warsaw was pointing out some very important things about the black culture and who is behind it. Who's manipulating the black culture into what it has become? Well, let's find out.
I guess it surprised a lot of people. A lot of people did not know that BET was not even owned by black people, that it was owned by the Redstone family, an Ashkenazi family. When you have control of the media, you don't just make a lot of money on somebody else. You also have influence on the direction of that people's culture and everything too. We went from Brady Bunch and the Huxtables and Sanford and Son to a culture that it's nothing but sex, drugs, and violence on TV. Media is socially and culturally shaping, especially with kids. What kids listen to, they pay more attention to their favorite music artist and have their behavior and philosophies mold more to that than they do their teachers in school. We all know that because we used to be kids too and teenagers. What we're bopping our heads to when we're younger, this stuff sinks in. This is what shapes our culture, what shapes our society. By selling bad culture, they make more money. More people will watch a gangster movie over a Brady Bunch type of TV show. So as culture goes down, their profits go up. And that there is a movement to make BET black again. BET has not been black owned since 2001.
Isn't that interesting? He's not wrong. Have you listened to any of the hip-hop stuff that's out there these days, folks? Let's face it. Most of you folks out there listening to this broadcast, we're conservative, and we're not exactly the younger generation. And you look back about the songs and the music that we had when we, the 60s, 70s, 80s, et cetera, compared to what's out there today. Have you listened to the lyrics? Just go hang out at a local tavern, or I hang out at the local VFW, and people put money in the jukebox, and I can't believe some of the stuff that I'm hearing. Just profanity filled. It's just a gangster culture that has been groomed and created. What was it, during the COVID pandemic? Remember they were banning all this stuff. They were banning the Pocahontas from the Land O'Lakes butter, okay? And they took Aunt Jemima off of the syrup, and they got rid of Uncle Ben off of the rice. All this cancel culture was going on. And then they went after some of the old songs. The Baby, It's Cold Outside. Remember that song? I think it was Bing Crosby or something like that. They banned that song because it was implying that you're going to have, a relation with a young woman. So they banned it. You know what the song of the year was the same year? Pardon my French, but this was the title of the song. Wet Ass Pussy. That was the song of the year, and that's the same year that they banned Baby It's Cold Outside. I mean, bat crap crazy? Yeah, I think. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because, yes, there is influence in the media, and the people behind the media, like you heard the Shah of Iran 50 years ago, there is one particular group of individuals that have taken control, maybe not complete control, but enough control over the media to shape the minds of the young people in this country, and indeed the rest of the world, in the Western world anyway. You want to talk about evil. Oh, my gosh. Meanwhile, the propaganda that they throw at you in the mainstream media, people are noticing. They're knowing that the media lied to them over and over and over again. Here's an example.
They lied. They lied about the virus, about the death toll, about the treatments, about the vaccines, about the masks, about the testing, about the passports, about everything. They lied while censoring the truth, while gaslighting the injured, while politicians partied and the media clapped along. No one has been held to account. No one has apologized. No one has even admitted what they did was wrong. And yet we're expected to move on, to forget, to pretend it was all well-intentioned. But for some of us, the damage is permanent. Our faith in public health, government, science, media, gone. So no, we're not moving on. We're not forgetting, and we're sure as hell not staying silent.
Good. And remember what Obama said? He said when the American people have lost faith in their media, in the pharmaceutical companies, and in all the other institutions, the medical establishment, remember what he said? He said, we know at that point we have won. Yeah, that's where we're at, folks. I don't know. I don't know if there's a solution for it, but let me see. There was something else. Oh yeah. RFK Jr. He was spitting truth bombs because we're heading towards this totalitarian digital imprisonment. At light speed. It's undeniable at this point. Here's RFK Jr. I don't know where he was speaking, but anyway, listen up.
Is what I call turnkey totalitarianism. They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates. It will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist. I'm going to tell you 3 rules that you all need to know and memorize. Number 1, every power that government takes from us, it will never relinquish voluntarily. Number 2, every power they take from us, they will ultimately abuse to the maximum extent possible. Number 3, nobody in history of the planet has ever complied their way out of totalitarian control. Every capitulation is a signal to the oppressors to impose new forms of torment or torture or compliance or obedience. Every time you comply, you get weaker. Bullies cannot be appeased. It just encourages them to new forms of torture and torment. Every time you say yes, you're getting pushed back to a weaker position. That's why we need to resist today.
That's right. We need to resist today. Do not comply. Like you said, you can't comply your way out of totalitarianism. And he's not the only one that's sounding the alarm. Catherine Austin Fitts had this to contribute.
I have to judge people by what they're doing, and what it looks to me like Trump and Musk are implementing the control grid at high speed.
Yes.
And don't believe me, go look at that list, because what you have to say is, okay, to do a control grid, we need a digital ID implemented that's very high quality, high precise. Check the box. We need an all digital financial system. Check the box. You know, we need a way of doing interoperable money. Check the box. If you look at what Doge is doing, we need a social credit system. Check the box.
Wait, what do you mean by that? What Doge is doing?
Doge is, from what it looks like to me, and I'm basing my assessment of what I know from Doge includes, I read the Financial Times, I need to read the Wall Street Journal, and I need to read Wired. Wired has done a very thorough job of trying to document what's happening in the systems. And I think basically what they've done is they've taken... So if I wanted to stop fraud in the U.S. government, I would say there's $20 trillion missing from DOD, there's $1 trillion missing from HUD. I'm going to go in, figure out where it went, get it back.
Right.
That's not what they did. If you said to me, I want to build a social credit system that can be used to enforce control against the American people and basically lock them down with both enforcement and social credit, I would go get the Social Security data, the IRS data, and the Treasury payment data, and that's exactly what they did. And I would privatize it. I would just take it and put it in private AI with XAI and Palantir AI. And if Palantir still has the contracts with Treasury and the IRS to enforce, you got everybody. And you add the Kennedy's aggregating the healthcare data, you put it with the healthcare data. Now they've been aggregating this kind of data. I used to call it the data beast. So they've been aggregating this kind of powerful data since the 90s. So I don't think this is all new. So, for example,
IRS data, healthcare data, and combining it all together into one system combined with AI.
Right.
And that leads me to the question, wait a second, where does RFK fit into this? I mean, it seems to me a month or two ago he was saying that in the next 4 years he wants everybody to be wearing a Fitbit. You know what I mean? One of those wristwatches that monitors your heart and it connects to the internet and it connects to your phone and all this other stuff. If you're going to be wearing a Fitbit, I mean, that's like you got a GPS tracker on you. They know what you eat. They know what your heart rate is. You know, they know everything about you. So, I mean, this is why I'm saying, wait a second, RFK Jr., which way is it going to be? So, I don't know. There's a lot of confusion out there. And I suppose that's part of the design also. People don't know which way to go. They don't know how to think. And again, that's like what Obama said. So, in the meantime, we're being flooded with more mass shootings. And they're saying, okay, this last one that was up in Michigan here, some guy with flags on his pickup truck smashed into this church and got out with his AR-15 and started shooting everybody up, and then he set the place on fire. Okay, and then there was another shooting and another. I think we had 4 shootings in the past week. And I can't help but think of MK Ultra. I know too much about that. MK Naomi. All these different programs for creating mind-controlled killers. They're programmed. They're brainwashed. And, Ordo ab chaos. Create more fear. Create more, more people who don't know what to believe anymore. Okay, we got a quick caller, and then I have another quick issue that I got to get to. Hello, caller. We only have a couple.
Okay, hey, Carol. Okay. Carolyn here.
Yeah,
just real
go.
quick on compliance. Is our biggest? I believe one of our biggest challenges is, and if we have mass compliance. Okay, so we don't have a choice. If we don't, if they're, if the masses want to go over the cliff, they're bringing us with them, basically. So there's that. And so, but I agreed with her. I wish I could have heard more of what she was saying. I forget her name, but anyway, so it sounds like to me they're getting warmed up. Doesn't it look like they're getting warmed up?
Oh, yeah. They're setting the table. Absolutely. Yeah, they're setting the table, and they are getting warmed up. And they're getting ready.
They're just getting warmed up.
They're getting ready to play their final card, too, and I've got a little clip about that. Oh, gosh.
Okay, good. Yeah, we are in big trouble, God. And the majority of people don't see it. You're looking around going, do you hear? Oh, that's right. The 49ers game. Forgot. Yeah.
Well, we've been warned. Even Howard Beale in the movie Network, he tried to warn us.
We're in a lot of trouble.
Yep. Yeah, we're in a lot of trouble.
I hate the trouble. I know. Thank you.
Yep. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you for your contribution. I don't know what the solution is, but we have to stay on top of this stuff. Now, in another seemingly unrelated topic, I don't know if you've heard, but 800 generals and admirals from the United States military have been summoned from all over the world, and as we speak, they're supposedly descending upon Quantico. Now, I don't know if that's true. That might be for public consumption. I don't see that would be very wise to have all your major military officers in one location. That's a security risk. So maybe they're not meeting at Quantico. Maybe they're meeting at Cheyenne Mountain, if they're meeting at all. However, there is another puzzle piece here that we need to consider. Now, obviously, we're coming into some very dark times. Everything is all topsy-turvy, upside down. We don't know what is right, what is wrong, and this is part of the plan. Now, it was Wernher von Braun in his deathbed. He admitted to his assistant, I forget what her name is, but he basically said that the final card to be played in the effort for world control will be for Operation Bluebeam to be implemented. Now, Operation Bluebeam is it was alluded to during the Reagan administration. Remember when Ronald Reagan said if humanity was faced with a threat from beyond, that all of the countries all over the world would join forces in a common cause to save humanity from an alien invasion. Yeah. So what does that have to do with the price of beans, Dave? Well, like I said, all of these generals are being called into one location here. And could it have something to do with that anomalous object that has come into our solar system, the 3-eye Atlas? Well, there's a military guy, I don't know who this gentleman is, but he posted the following statement. And this is cause for concern, folks. Listen up.
So this is unbelievable. We just got more information about the situation going on in Quantico. You already know the big news last week. I've been predicting it for a long time now. Something big is coming. Everyone knows that the generals and the admirals are being called on an emergency meeting to gather in Quantico for some big update. A friend of mine that we're going to meet with right now that works on the base in Quantico is telling me that security is starting to get crazy there. Like they are preparing for, of course, all the leadership, but what they're being told is to be on alert. So, with everything going on with the news in space, I just saw another video that was sent to me the other day. I reached out to the guy talking about the asteroid Atlas 3I. They have radar footage and radio waves that are coming from a huge vessel of some sort. and are trying to piece together exactly what it's trying to communicate. They're not sure if it's just noise coming from the vessel or if it's some encoded message, but it is consistent and persistent. This is huge. Be ready for big updates next week.
Okay, so, and I got to tell you, folks, I'm not putting all my eggs in any of these baskets because we don't know what the truth is at all. I mean, I don't trust NASA, and I know a lot of you listeners don't trust NASA. I mean, this whole thing could be a psyop. I mean, who knows? Is there even an object coming into our solar system? And but there have been reports, and I've been sort of following this on my peripheral vision, and they're saying that this object, this 3I Atlas, and they're saying it's anywhere between 11 and 14 miles long. It's like as big as Manhattan Island in New York City. That's huge. And they're saying that it's actually changing its course. It's altered its trajectory, were the exact words that they used. And not only that, but it has also changed its velocity. Goes faster, goes slower. Now, if this is just a space rock, an asteroid, a comet that's just floating around, how would it change its direction? How would it change its velocity? Now, again, this might all be lies. I don't know. But like I said, Wernher von Braun had said that would be the final card that has to be played in order for the world government to take control. And like I said, we don't know what's up and what's down. We don't know what's right or what's wrong. But we do know is that there's a lot of animosity and anger and hatred being generated for everybody. Oh, there's plenty to go around. Hey, you black folks, you want some hate? Here's some hate. Hey, you white guys, here's some hate for you too. Hey, all you Hispanic people, there's a bunch of hate for you. They're pitting people against each other. Yep, that's what they're doing. And that's why I keep saying, hey, look at, okay, all you liberals over here, all you conservatives over there. Okay, now let me ask you guys over here. Do you like war? No. Do you? No. Okay, good. Do you like Big Pharma? No. Do you? No. Do you like the military-industrial complex? No. Do you? No. I mean, we could go on and on. We've all got so much in common. And Sun Tzu tried to tell us, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So we have no choice, folks. We have to put aside our differences and realize that the powers that be want a conflict between the right and the left. They want horizontal war. They want a civil war. That's what they want. But once the people figure out what's going on, it's not a horizontal conflict that is necessary. It's a vertical conflict from the bottom to the top. If you're going to fight this globalist agenda for a one-world government, a totalitarian control regime, you just keep doing what you're doing. Because we're just moving right along. We're just moseying on down the road to get exactly that. We have to somehow overcome our differences and join hands. And that's what it comes down to, folks. And above all, we have to pray. We have to try to reconnect with the source. Reconnect with the Spirit, with God, whatever you want to call it. Remember when you didn't do your homework? Remember that feeling you had in the pit of your stomach when you know you'd screwed up? Well, guess what? In our finite lives, we're born and we die. And when you die, I guess there's going to be a little final assessment that comes along here, and hopefully you won't have that feeling in the pit of your stomach. So, anyway, that said, that's going to wrap it up for today's Monday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist. I appreciate your listenership, and hopefully I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. So, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and I'll see you tomorrow.